Okay, this is sculpting course number 2. Now, again, I got a comment from, when I do this stuff for General Electric, they said, oh, no, don't type the numbers in, don't have everybody just retype numbers all the time. So I made a pretend project cost of 3,000. And I said, well, the maximum debt to capital ratio is 80%. Now I've spent hours and hours trying to work through the importance of understanding the different strategies if you have a maximum DSCR or maximum debt. And then our debt to capital, I said, well, let's put our DSCR still on as 2. So our CFADS is let's take this CFADS. By the way, in the last video, I had a little glitch with the Shift Control R. That's all fixed. I press Shift Control C to just redo things. Now we'll use the same interest rate. So when we take the PV of the CFADS, you know what I'm going to do is put our debt switch again. Okay, so we'll just redo this. Excuse me if I'm a little bit redundant here. So just so we CFADS. Well, I'll do it like this. What the heck? Now, what I did here is just to show you a different way to do it. If you put NPV and you go up to the interest rate, then you can take the CFADS, multiply it by the debt switch. And when you do that, you have to press Shift Control Enter. Okay, I'll make a formula text for that. Okay, and there's our formula. I guess I put the little brackets in. Now, here's what we do. If we say, okay, well, let's take this number and divide it by the LLCR is the CFADS, divide it by our maximum debt to capital, we get less. We get 0.62. Now, what that means is the project could only support 1,400 of debt. It can't support the full 2,400. But let's just pretend for a moment. Excuse me for this again. Let's go to the developer and put a spinner box around the 100 just for a minute. If we increase this 100, let's make it 500, I don't know. Okay, and then oops, starts at 0. Excuse me for this. Should have done it by more than this. Stupid 200. Let's put it 200, and let's copy that to so we can kind of play with our number. Now we've got a situation where in this case we have the LLCR, you see, is bigger than the debt to capital, and if I push this down, okay, now the LLCR is more, so we could let's put supportable debt with how about debt to capital ratio from Sculpting. from DSCR. Now, what we do, we just take this total CFADS and divide that by our target DSCR, and that's I'll put debt from DSCR. Excuse me for this. So you might. Oh shit! I can't press. I promise not to swear. Okay, now if we increase this a little bit, okay, then our LLCR, when our LLCR is higher, here's our LLCR, I should have said, the LLCR is the PV of the CFADS divided by the debt to capital. LLCR using, how about debt, output project cost, and debt to cap. So we have two different DSCRs. We have LLCRs rather. We have the one that we computed from the PV of the debt service, and then I said, well, how much debt can we have? And then this one doesn't use that debt, it just uses the PV of the debt service, and we just divide that by the amount of the debt. And if that's higher than the target debt service coverage ratio, that means the sculpting is kind of irrelevant. The sculpting is overridden. It's overridden by the maximum debt to capital ratio. Okay, I gotta get rid of the comma. Excuse me for being irritating. I suppose I redid the interest rate here. I don't know why, but whatever. I'm gonna delete that and probably get some references good. So debt amount that we actually use. Let's put now instead of this, I think we'll make it a little clearer. Let's put debt DSCR with debt to cap constraint. Now, so what we would do if we have lower cash flows, here, let's put this, then now we are allowed to, let me put debt to cap with DSCR constraint. Apologizing really for this. So this is the PV of the, excuse me, this is the amount of debt divided by the project costs, shift control P. So we're okay. Now I can put constraint applied. So we can put if this is less than the thing, then the maximum, then we can put DSCR. Otherwise, we'll put debt to cap. Okay, and so let's put the cash flow a little bit higher again, and then we run into our debt to capital constraint whenever you can see whenever the amount of debt you produce with this sculpting is greater than the amount you allowed. Of course, if you change the debt to capital, change the DSCR constraint, everything will change. So we now have the LLCR. Whenever the LLCR, you'll see, is if this LLCR that we can afford is bigger than the DSCR, well, we have to push the sculpting down. That's really the trick. So what we're going to use is the maximum of this or this. Now, this doesn't produce any circular reference because I have no taxes or interest income. So in our simple case, it's all okay. All right, now let's compute the, we don't need this, let's compute the target debt service. We use this number, so we take our CFADS, is this CFADS, this goes to the whole thing, divided by this number, not the other one, and multiply that one by the debt switch. Okay, and then we can have our we could redo the NPV if we want. I suppose we should do that. Okay, otherwise we already have it, but I think this will be a little bit less confusing. And did I put the interest rate back? No, I'm going to use this interest rate up here. This time I'll just be lazy. No, I can't. Because I have that little thing in the front. Okay, so that's our, we're hitting the debt to capital constraint here. If we would put this down, then now we're hitting the DSCR constraint. Okay, we can only have a maximum debt to capital or a minimum DSCR. And then we can just use this as the debt. I'll put this here if you care. It's the total debt service minus the interest. This is this minus this, and this is the opening balance times the interest rate we put up here. Okay. Shift Control R. So let's just press Shift Control R on this, and why don't we go up and our test. Remember, we did this test. This time I'll press the F4 on this and the F4 on this, and hopefully we can just copy the test, and it was just one below, no, two below the interest. Oops. Of course, got it wrong, but no big deal. Okay, and our debt service is total, and our DSCR is if the debt service is greater than 0.1, then let's take the CFADS, wherever that was, divided by the debt service, false, and our LLCR is the NPV at the interest rate of the target debt service, or the CFADS multiplied by the true and false divided by the debt that we have. We have to press Shift Control Enter. That's kind of another check. And then we have our sculpting course. Now we're really fancy. Sculpting course part 2. Okay.